about the international community's role and their reaction. I wanted to ask you about why do you think there's a lack of outrage among the Chinese people? Do you think it's all due to the censorship and the cover-up on the part of the government, or is there any reason why we barely see any outrage or people speaking up from within China from other parts of the country?
It is a brainwashing. China used the same tactic as Germany did during the World War II. Before Germany started killing Jewish people, they had a program of propaganda for 10 years. The German government told their citizens how bad the Jewish people are. They carried out this for 10 years. And by the time the German government started killing the Jewish people, if the German police come to your house and take you, you are Jewish, the neighbor didn't care. Because the neighbor thought, oh, these are bad people, these are Jewish people, bad people. It should be like that. That's the situation with Uyghur people right now. This kind of huge operation, the Chinese government itself cannot do this. There are a lot of people helping it. Actually, they are very happy that Uyghur people are gone. If you look at my Twitter, you see the Han Chinese people dancing on the street. It is happening right now. They pass through the concentration camps. They see the Uyghurs' misery every day, but they don't care. Because China, after 9/11, portrayed Uyghurs as the terrorists to the whole world. They used exactly the same tactic. They planted some incidents in East Turkestan or in other parts of China. We had some cases, the isolated incident, but some of them is fabricated by the government. After that, they made a video saying how bad Uyghur people are. It's about 2 hours long. And they asked the whole Chinese people to watch it. The government organized to watch that video 2 hours long about how bad Uyghur people are. So now the Han Chinese people keeping quiet. And there is a article published last year. Actually, I posted it recently on the internet too. The title is "Uyghurs are too bad." One Chinese student went to East Turkestan. His parents were there, and he went there and met with many other Han Chinese people. And wherever she went, people told her, Uyghurs are too bad. About 2 years ago, when she went back, she heard this kind of word from about 20% people. But last year, she heard from like 80% people. So the Han Chinese people are supporting the government to eradicate Uyghur people.
I wanted to touch on what do you think the rest of the world's reaction, if it's appropriate or not. So there's lots of people who stand to gain from the falling of China, including many of people in the West. So you're able to find many Westerners gladly condemn China for these actions, but support the human rights abuses of their own governments in other regions of the world. On the other hand, you can have people who won't criticize the ethnic cleansing of the Turks in northern Syria and other places, but are happy to condemn China for political reasons and economic reasons. So, and there are people who would also support China for economic and political reasons and stay away from other topics. So what do you think is the best way to separate the issue from politics and economics and situate it in a context of human rights violations? And what do you think the role of the foreign leaders are? Like, what's the practical impact of condemnations like we've seen from some members of parliament in the UK and even President Trump himself? Do you think there's any practical impact from those condemnations?
No, the China is a dictatorship country. It's authoritarian government. For them, word does not work. Condemnation, even the US came up with some Uyghur human rights law, for example. But at the same time, they put some other measures in place, like punishing some companies and punishing some officials. If there's no real action like that, just condemnation statements does not work for China. And they showed that it does not work. They didn't care about what has been happening recently in the international community. He didn't care. The Uyghur people are in a very disadvantageous position right now. We had a very different view in the past about a Turkic world and the Muslim world. There were a lot of discussions online back several years ago about is Uyghurs, the racial status is number one or Muslim Ummah is number one? Which one is higher? Kind of. And more than 80% of Uyghur people said Ummah is number one. Ummah should be above everything else. That's how the Uyghur people lived for 1,000 years, saying Ummah is the number one. But this time, when the Uyghur people got into this current crisis, both the Turkic world and Muslim worlds are quiet. And I don't know when the world changed. In the past, about 1 or 2 centuries ago, people could die for principles. But now people could die for money, not principles. People sell their soul and the dignity for money. Just the whole world became like that. Same thing with the Muslim countries. I know the Muslim countries have some financial problem, but just from a religious point of view, nobody is starving to death in those Muslim countries. In reality, they are richer than many other countries in the world, but they still bow to Chinese government's pressure and keeping silent when it comes to Uyghur people. The thing is, as I said, the condemnation and the statements don't work for Chinese government. What works is the Chinese government has a very strong financial interest in all Muslim countries. For example, through One Belt, One Road program. If the Muslim countries show some sign of some resistance to the Chinese government about what they're doing to the Muslim Ummah, Chinese government could change their behavior. But it's not happening. It is such an unfortunate situation. And now I had some time to think, what is wrong? Is the Islam that we learned is wrong? Or the Muslims are doing something wrong? What's going on? In the past, whenever some Muslim population in the world got into some hardship, like in Palestinian, Iraq, for example, Uyghur people, even the Uyghur people are living under Communist Chinese rule. They still try to do something for that, like collecting donations, for example. But now we are facing an eradication. The Uyghur people may disappear from the surface of the earth, but anything from the Muslim countries. In the last 2 or 3 UN meetings, the countries divided into 2 groups. One is the Western country, led by the US, another one, other countries led by China. Almost all of the Muslim countries are staying with China. They are supporting China's current policy against the Uyghurs. This is a very unfortunate situation. Something went wrong in between. So I still think about this problem. What happened? What the Islamic whole theory, the Quran that we have been learning. Now, suddenly, why everything changed? Why suddenly the money, finance became number one in the world, even for Muslims, even for Muslim countries. It is such an unfortunate situation. But there's a catch of this. To the world, I said Uyghur population is more than 18 million. It is maybe nothing. It's just statistics. Or 80 million people gone. So what? But if you don't care now, you can become the next. China has a big ambition. Xi Jinping wants to become the god of the world. I wrote about this in my Twitter. There's a song praising Xi Jinping as the leader of the world, for example. Xi Jinping is eliminating all the religion, Islam, Christian, Buddhism, everything, because he wants to become a god. So if China succeeds in One Road, One Belt initiative program, a lot of other Muslim countries really got into trouble. It started actually in Africa. Some Chinese companies asked African employees, they gave African employees two choices. One is keep your religion, pray 5 times, but lose your job. Or you keep your job, give up your religion. This is the ultimatum. This is the choices the Chinese government gave to the employees. This will happen. When you go deep in your debt to China, it will happen. And you will learn Chinese and start to live in a Chinese culture, not in your own culture, because it happened to us already.